Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shakespearean Shrew. I am your Shakespearean Shrew, Karen Feiner, lover of all things Bard. This podcast is a decorum-be-damned entrance into understanding Shakespeare's stages, for there are many. And we are back at OSP in Paseo with director and owner of OKC's Storyteller Theater, Brenna Wickstrom.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, can you tell us a little bit of your story in terms of, how your journey went in terms of getting involved in theater and how the creation of Storyteller Theater emerged?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So my background in theater is I didn't get started in theater until I was in high school. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so I never knew that was an option. And my mom was a sign language interpreter for a very long time. And she used to take me up. She used to work for Westmore High School. So we'd go up there together and she'd interpret on the stage. And I used to think, oh, that's so cool. I want to do that too. And she'd said, let's enroll you in drama in high school. So she enrolled me in drama in high school. And I auditioned for the play there and got in, and that was that. So,
wow.
So then my path, I decided senior year that I wanted to continue doing this professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I received a full ride scholarship to UCO for their musical theater department. And then after first semester there, it just wasn't the right fit. I didn't feel like I love musical theater. It's just not something I felt like I was born to do. So my path went towards theater education. And that is where I've been spending most of my life the last 11 to 12 years, is in the theater ed realm, teaching mainly with early childhood, not so much junior high school. And then my husband and I, we've been together for 15 years, so he's been there through all of that. And so we had had been wanting to own our own theater company. Even in high school when we were together, we sat there and we talked about how wonderful that would be to have a place where you could make art and tell stories. So that's always been a big dream of ours that we've held on to. And then in 2019, we thought, why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do something and go for it? And so we did. And we came up with the idea for Storyteller Theater, because that's all that theater is. It's just stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were very poor. We were broke, like always. And we decided, what can you do without paying a lot of money for rights? So we decided, classics, public domain. Why not do that? And I love to write. We love to adapt. So we do a lot of the writing and adapting ourselves for a lot of work. So we adapted a short TYA production of Winnie the Pooh and performed it at the Harn Homestead. So that was in 2019. And then we were starting to kind of make footwork on growing a little bit, and COVID happened. So that shut us down for a little bit, and we had some stints and moved to Florida and a bunch of different things, a lot of craziness. And we came back and just decided we want to do this. We want to keep doing this. So that's why we're here, and we've been doing this for the last 2 years, and that's kind of how it evolved. So
you work. So do you still work with theater education as well?
Not so much anymore. We had an education sector with storytellers, but it's difficult. It's difficult to do with the kids. We don't really have our own space right now, so it's kind of hard to find a good space to continually operating classes and opportunities. So we try to do productions that involve kids so that we can continue that part of our company.
Got it. Yeah. But the productions themselves aren't necessarily
they're not definitely not. Julius Caesar definitely not exactly kid friendly per se. So we don't consider ourselves a children's company. We're just theater for everyone.
Yes.
If we can, opportunities for everyone. If we can find a way to put kids in there, let's do it. If not, it's no big. It's not the right time for that. So,
And I mean, that's most theaters, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Depending on the production, it changes the audience.
Absolutely.
And so that's really, okay, so you don't have a theater, a physical theater. So do you just find spaces that you can work in? And
yeah, so we're considered a resident company at the Civic Center. So we're a resident company with them, and we also have a very strong partnership with the Harn Homestead.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's kind of our home of homes right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I talked to a company in South Korea, and they were very similar, where they didn't have like a home base. So they would just kind of move around depending on where they could produce, and
so that's part of
giving
our
them space.
Absolutely, that's part of our logo. So our logo is a cowboy and a horse. Because we're from Oklahoma, we travel. So that's the kind of the story behind the cowboy. Is we're a traveling theater company. So
I mean, it's very OG because theater used to travel.
Oh, why not?
Now we all go to it, but
Yeah.
it used to come to every town, and people would, come out for the productions, and that was the only way they got a lot of news and they got a lot of education. And so I think it's really great because honestly, I think it's still true. I think that theater is a lot, if it's made accessible, it gives a lot of people an opportunity that they might not otherwise have had or know exists.
Absolutely, and that's a big, I guess, proponent of our company is that we just want to create as many opportunities as we can for our community and decrease those barriers for people. It doesn't matter if you don't have a degree or if you do have a degree, if you're the most vetted of actors or you're just beginning, we really want you to come and try and give it a try and work for us. So
yeah. So you have Julius Caesar coming out this month.
It's so fun. Yeah.
So it opens on February 20th.
Oh no, March.
Oh,
6th.
I'm head.
You're good. Oh, don't scare me. You're okay. I think I want to say it's March 6th.
March
I should
6th.
know this. Friday. It's a Friday. It's a Friday. It's in March.
We'll look it up.
Yeah, for 2 weekends at the Civic Center.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
gonna be a big forum for it. So that's great.
Well, we're not in the Thelma Gaylord, the big one. We are down in CitySpace. So I'm not sure. Are you familiar?
I've
with
never
CitySpace?
been to CitySpace.
It's really fun. Nobody knows it exists.
And now we do.
We do. And you go down the stairs into the basement, and it's there. It's just this little 100-seat black box theater.
Oh,
and
nice. I love black box.
yeah, it's very intimate. It's very immersive. It's definitely in your face.
Yes.
And in your lap.
I mean, that's a great thing, especially for Shakespeare, because that's really kind of how he's meant to be. It's not meant to be yelling out to a,
No way.
1,000-person auditorium. It's supposed to be close and intimate.
Yeah.
So Julius Caesar, that is a very political production, and it's very relevant, I would say, to a lot of what's going on, but that also makes it a very scary play for a lot of companies to produce because it's so political, and you can't take out the politics in Julius Caesar. There is no hiding
Absolutely.
from the politics. So what do you do with a play like that in such a volatile time? Is that when you feel like you should lean into those productions?
So when we decided to do Julius Caesar, we have had this on the books to do since COVID. We've been wanting to do this for a very long time. When we chose this show, it was definitely not during this current political climate, so it kind of feels, I don't want to say destined because that seems really pretentious to say. It just feels necessary, I guess, to do it right now. So you have to lean into the political aspect of it, but for us, to take everyone out of the current political climate by setting it in the 70s is very transporting for people. It doesn't feel as heavy, or it is relevant, but it doesn't feel as relevant in today's time, in today's day and age where everything is such a hot button topic. You can go back and you can look at what are the similarities and what are the differences that they were experiencing then and we're experiencing now, and what is the lesson here? Because you go back to Shakespeare's time, and you even go back to ancient Rome, and you see this is continually happening over and over and over again. And the biggest message that we want people to take away from this show is that we keep putting our faith in ourselves, and we keep putting our faith in other people to guide us. I don't know what the right word is for that. We keep putting our faith in the wrong people and blindly following them. And it's not so much this side or this side, like in Caesar, they're all flawed.
I mean, I feel like in Julius Caesar, really, if you look at the sides, yes, there's definitely a side that is
more wrong over the other.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. Ascribed to the wrong side, but there are no really heroes in Julius Caesar.
There are no heroes.
There are no heroes. Rhetoricians. There are brilliant rhetoricians.
Yeah.
And so people listen and people do what those rhetoricians say, showing the power of rhetoric.
Yeah.
But they don't, I think it's what you said. I think it's very much showcasing that we have to be careful of who we're following and why. Like, we can't just listen to what people say and be like, oh, you must be right. You must know more than me. I feel like that's a big problem right now, is that we're not doing our own research. We're just taking other people's words for it. And I think Julius Caesar is a great display of that.
There's also a lot of self-interest in Julius Caesar that is really terrible. There's not a lot of community there. It's all out for your own self-interest, and you even see that with Mark Antony and Octavius. And it's just what we were telling the actors is that there is no good versus evil, because we're all just humans and we're all doing something that we believe is right. Yes, there is a moral compass, and there's definitely morality there. And you should follow that. But most just in Shakespeare, in Julius Caesar, as the actors, you can't approach it from I'm evil, I'm good. You have to look at it from a whole perspective. And really, it's just that play is a huge warning of power and blurring those lines.
Well, and it's always, my students kind of dismiss Shakespeare a lot, but then I'm like, this is the basis for the Hunger Games. You know that, right? And they're like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yes. Like, they, she full on, it says that she used this, as a platform, as a base to write that. And we see that so often. We see that so much, where Shakespeare's works are still so relevant that people just kind of take them, recycle them into more, modern versions, but we still get the same story and the same lessons. And I wonder if that's, how much that has to do with him really understanding humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just stories that the most lasting. The reason why there are stories that are classics and they get told over and over again is because they relate to those themes that you and I and everyone can understand so well.
Yes.
Just being a human.
Yeah, and he doesn't he just doesn't have heroes, which I always love about him. And of all the characters and the tropes that he uses, there is no real hero that emerges. There's a fool who is like a guide that kind of points out, you all are being idiots. Let me show you how many ways you're being, you're being stupid.
Yeah.
but there isn't that one person who comes in and rescues everybody else or saves the day. And I feel like that's what we've fallen into today with like Marvel and all of that, is we want a hero. We want one person who's going to fix everything and make it better, as opposed to, recognizing our humanity and our flaws.
Yeah, absolutely. And our faults, and being okay to say that I made a mistake, and that's okay. I love that. That's really great.
We just have like I don't know. I know since you've worked in education, you're probably just as aware of this as I am. We've kind of built a society where it's not okay to fail. It is not okay to mess up.
Especially in theater.
Yes. Oh, man.
Especially in theater, you're not allowed to make a mistake, are we?
No, and I mean, we started talking about that before we even started recording, but talking about giving people opportunities to try and take chances without the repercussions that could ruin their career or could ruin the way that they see theater. I mean, I think that's what's so important about theaters like Storyteller, and it sounds like you're trying to give individuals the opportunity to really try things out and see what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. We were just talking about this, my husband and I, yesterday. We just really want to create a very accepting and open experience when people come and they work for us in rehearsals, that you feel comfortable to fail and you feel comfortable to try things, because I hate micromanaging. I don't want to micromanage you on stage. You're an adult, you're an actor. If you're a kid, kids actually probably know better than most adults. You know your body best. You're probably going to know your character even more than I do. So it's my job as a director to guide you and to still keep my vision, but mainly as an actor and a designer to let you create. And if we keep our hands in the pot so much as a director, people don't feel like they're safe enough, or they have that opportunity to feel like they're creating, or they have any control of their character or their own story.
I love that. So how do you walk that line? Because that must be a kind of a tricky line to walk between keeping your vision, but also allowing actors the freedom to find their way to it.
So I had a really great professor in college. Her name is Emily Hugater, and I'm not sure if you are familiar with her, but she's also a Shakespearean. She's my Shakespeare professor, and I never had a director. Well, our high school director was like this, but ever since then, I never had another director who would say, if you came up with them and asked them if it was okay if I try this, or can I do something different here because it doesn't feel natural, she'd say, let's try it. It was never no, it was let's try it, and then if it doesn't look good, we have to go with my original vision.
Right.
But it's always that freedom to try it, and sometimes it may look better, and other times we just stick with the original version. But that's the first thing. I'd rather say yes than no. Mm-hmm. So it's always, I don't know, let's try.
It's just having a conversation.
Yeah, let's try.
So talking about making everything inclusive and bringing everybody into a story, Julius Caesar is a very male-dominated production, and the women in the production
are questionable.
Yeah, I mean, they're just given really tough. It's interesting because Shakespeare's written some amazing women, but in Julius Caesar, I don't know if it's because he was thinking kind of pulling back in history and kind of trying to showcase what he thought of women's roles then.
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
But
I've never heard about that before.
It's because they're incredibly different than his other much more powerful women.
Yeah.
And so how do you deal with issues like that in terms of casting, of course, because, if you cast this one according to who's supposed to be casted, you're basically left with a cast of 95% men and...
Absolutely. So when we decided to go with Julius Caesar, we had always known that we wanted to set it from 1968 to 1970, early 1970s, like a time span there, because of the civil rights movement, because of all of the different climates and change going on, but mainly because of women are starting to be more prevalent in politics. Minorities, people of color are being able to be more represented in politics, and that's how we went into with casting. We had an initial vision for Cassius when we went in for casting. We wanted a younger woman and it to be more of, she was in love with Brutus, and there was this unrequited love there. But then we had an older actress come in. She read really well, and I thought, ooh, that's interesting. If we have an older woman as Cassius, she's not able to get what she wants, and she's constantly being passed over for this god, for Caesar, and she'll never see her dreams realized. So she has to do that through this younger man who can accomplish that vision for her. And we're actually double cast. We have double cast that role. So we have an older woman playing Cassius, and then we have a younger male playing Cassius, but he identifies as gay. So that's really the direction that we're going with that story, is that he doesn't feel, his character doesn't believe that he will ever be like Caesar, that this difference between masculinity, like what is that line there? And even back in the 70s, how did the LGBTQ community relate in politics, in our country, in society, in our culture? So there's that, and then a lot of our conspirators are women. We have several conspirators playing women. Cinna and Casca are played by women as well. And then the roles of Calpurnia and Portia. Calpurnia is that the woman who stays by her husband's side, who doesn't question, and then when she does question, that you see in that scene, she's totally passed aside by her husband.
Right. And then you never see her again.
And then you never see her again. It doesn't make any sense. And Portia, and Portia's backstory with her, in Shakespeare's version, she's very suicidal and has mental health problems.
And her relationship with her father, and definitely, yes, you see a lot of.
And so we've changed some lines there, and she has cancer. So a lot of that is more so just this really fragile relationship between the two of them. So it's different.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, her, like the mutilation, those aspects of her where it weakens her. It really weakens her. It's so interesting. But I think it plays into what you were talking about with like that desperation to be heard. Because you talking about the older woman who I think, a lot of us can understand in our society between the elderly and the female part. Like, even today, I feel like those women are very much overlooked or not listened to. And then, of course, bringing a young gay man into the, picture, especially in 1970, but we can't really take that out of today's conversation either. And it's a really interesting double casting. Yeah. So, so they're playing their roles on different nights or different. How does the rest of the cast adjust? Because I feel like those are such substantial and very different people to play off of. Yeah. So what is that looking like?
It's interesting. So they're handling it really well. It's actually very surprising how quickly they intersperse the pronouns together that way, and then sometimes they don't. So you just gotta come see it and watch it. So.
All right, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this looks like. So are there any aspects, I mean, you told us quite a few aspects of Julius Caesar that sound very exciting and very different from other productions that I have seen. Yeah. Are there any things that you're really excited about or that you're really hoping will come from this production?
I am. There's just so many. I'm having a great time. There's so many wonderful things. I love the time period already. I'm a huge 60s and 70s person. And so we're just really delving into the music and the culture. And part of our set features television. So a lot of the story also focuses on how does media present itself in our culture and for our country. So we will be having a lot of projections and different videos and clips that highlight commercials and movies and TV and news reports and all kinds of stuff from that time period. And it's gonna be so much fun. And we have both live music and recorded music and all kinds of stuff mixed in there.
That's so exciting.
So,
yeah, it's interesting because media, I mean, at that time it was just emerging. TV was just emerging. Exactly. It was this big thing to have access to it, and now we're almost inundated by it. So I feel like this production is starting a lot of conversations.
It is, yeah. We're having, that's a great thing. That's another great part about it is creating a lot of conversations with people and making a lot of connections, and it's just a really great way to play and create in a time that feels difficult. So yeah. Because
I think I'm so interested because a lot of people are going towards the lighter end of theater right now, just because everything else is so heavy that they'd rather laugh in the face of darkness than kind of lean into it. So I'm excited to see a production that kind of delves into separates it. It gives us the cushion of history a little bit, but still delves into a lot of what people need to be talking about right now. Because I feel like that's the problem, is when we stop talking, when we get so overwhelmed that we're just silent.
Absolutely. I hope that it sparks conversations with people. And the best kind of theater is when you walk away and you have thoughts and you are thinking and it gets people talking. That's great. If you left and you didn't feel anything, then it wasn't great. That's just it.
That is very true. So as you're casting, are there certain things that you're really, because I think it's also, you said, you had a plan and then you were casting and you were like, the plan has changed.
Oh, totally. Yep, absolutely.
So are there things that you do look for though? Things that you keep an eye out for as you are casting, as you're thinking about who's going to play these roles?
That's a great question. I always look for comfortability. How comfortable are you with the text and with the story and with yourself? And I guess comfortability is the biggest one I look for when going into auditions, because if you don't feel comfortable from day one, it's going to be very difficult to pull as we go further into the process. I'm always looking for people who feel excited and passionate about what they're doing as well. That's really important too.
Yeah. How does comfortability, because it's a great term, how does that show itself? Like for you, as you're like looking for somebody who you think looks comfortable with the text or looks comfortable with the role, what are some things that kind of give that away?
I guess more so what I mean is they feel comfortable in themselves and the choices that they're making, and they're not they're not asking me what they should do or trying to read my mind or anything like that.
So it's like confidence.
Yeah, it's that confidence in that they have their own vision for their character and what they're looking for, and they know what they're doing, and they know who they are, and they go out there and they do it. And it's exciting. It's exciting to watch. So
yes, it is always exciting when you have somebody who's just willing to go for it and put themselves out there.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for actors or maybe even directors, people who are trying to get into what can be a very difficult and sometimes damaging industry?
Yeah. I would say that it's not really so much. I had a thought and I lost it.
It's okay, we can always
What I really like to share, especially with young actors, is that you have your own special skills and talents that only you can provide, and you have got to embrace that. You can't look at someone else's stuff in their art and their work and try to copy it, because it won't work. You just can't. You need to look at what's inside of you and bring that wholly to the table. And as a director, yes, I have an idea, a base idea of what I want, and definitely an overall vision. And it's more so a feeling that I'm looking for. And if that comes to alive, then that's wonderful. But really, I'm looking for those people who they have gifts and special talents, and I like to find people's special talents and gifts and put them into a project that it all kind of blends. Like, just for an example, we had an actor come in for Julius Caesar, and he saw the soothsayer totally different. I wanted him to be a media journalist and to present the news. And he saw him as Bob Dylan, as a folk singer. He brought in a guitar and he brought in a harmonica, and he showed it to me, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And I loved it. And I thought, that is a special gift and a talent that I can utilize and I can work with, and it changes my perception of the story there. And I think it does it for the better. So I think for directors, and even just artists in general, you gotta be flexible. And it's not always my way or the highway, it's our way. And if we're gonna make art, we have to be willing to listen to other people's perspectives and points of view.
That's a great example.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's what a cool, I like your idea of the journalist, because I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at this there. And then I was like, oh, but that is also very
that's also so much better and so much different. So
yeah, no, okay. But I do think that's important. I think, again, theater is one of the most collaborative art elements. I mean, of course, music is as well, but I feel like theater, it has to be, like you said, what we are doing. It has to be a joint effort. And so I think that's really good advice for both parties.
Thank you.
But yeah, okay. So I want to make sure that everybody knows. So we're gonna check this and make sure that our dates are on track. So it's on Friday would be March 7th.
Oh, okay. Day off, March 7th. Okay.
So
the 16th.
So it'll be March 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, and 16th downstairs in the Civic Center, which I've never been to and now must go explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which now I have a reason to, so I'm very excited about this. So where would people go to get tickets for this?
You can get tickets online at the Civic Center box office, and we're right there on the homepage.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us. It's been so insightful, and I've gotten so many different perspectives, so I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for listening, and just remember, all the world's a stage, and you too can be a shrew.